Welcome to Calvary Episcopal Church here in Pittsburgh this day to celebrate the wedding and bless the marriage of Owen and Sarah. All these readings, all of this service is very much aspirational. That is what we aspire to be in the best possible world, what we can imagine a wedding and a marriage to be. But it's also very much grounded in reality, aspirational yet understands the daily actions and daily life that we all encounter. The reading, particularly from 1 Corinthians that Cara just offered, is read at probably 190 of the 200 weddings I've ever presided over. And it's taken me that long to begin to understand it. I had it read at my own wedding 25 years ago. Love is not a static thing. Love is active, if we think of it best as a verb that God uses rather than a noun that we think about. Love is an active thing that grows over time. The bulk, the corpus of this sermon that I'll get to in just a minute is examples of ways of living that out, ways that love has grown from the very first time that Owen, apparently awkwardly at first, encountered Sarah in the gardens there, and then got a little smoother over time. And then as they did things together, learned about one another and friends and family, and they began to integrate their lives, that love grew from this little seed that they cultivated together into what we have now. But it doesn't end here. This day, the wedding isn't a final destination in any sense. This is a day that all of us come together to honor what they have made, what they've cultivated together, and that is their relationship. It's the marriage that we're celebrating, not the wedding, which is the day, the event. And the relationship they make together, we often focus on the husband and wife, but they're really making a family. And in this case, they're making a family with immediate family of three. It's Owen and Sarah and Lana, all included in this. And this is their time that they love and share and grow together. I ask each of them to do homework, and I'll just say this is a personal aside. I love living with poets because they make the world interesting, but I really prefer to live with engineers who organize things beautifully and put it all together. And that's what we have today, the spirit of a poet, but the mind of an engineer that Owen and Sarah bring. I asked them to do a bit of homework on this, and think of in your own life, if you're married or if you're partnered, why are you married to the other person? And the answers, or why do you want to marry this person, are often because I love him, he would make the best parent possible, because she's this, because he's that. But I find that most couples don't actually ever articulate that to one another at a very superficial, basic level early on. And we say, I love you, but we don't say why. What is it about him, what is it about her, that I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, that I want to grow more deeply into love and work at it every single day of our lives? And so they wrote this down, and have you heard or read what the other person said? No. So this is the world debut of why Sarah wants to marry Owen. Also, I would add that it's 2,500 words, what she wrote. That's about a 25 to 30 minute sermon for me. So we're going to get the highlight version of that. Very different styles, both beautiful in their own way, but they will each get to hear what the other wrote. I printed out nice versions of the whole text. Bring this out on your 1-year anniversary, your 5, your 10, when you have a particularly great time, when you have a particularly bad time. Why did I choose to be married to him, to her? If you need a reminder, you already gave it to yourself. Why I Want to Marry Owen by Sarah Bobby, abridged version. Owen is one of the kindest, most caring people I know and doesn't hesitate to help others. Here's an example. She had wonderful examples for each of the 10 points. When Owen and I first started getting to know each other, more than just a wave or hello at the garden fences, I was looking for a new organization to volunteer with. He told me that he was involved with one that called Fair Foods to feed people that I could join. Most people I meet don't volunteer anywhere for whatever reason, and the fact that he does regularly speaks a lot about his character. It's one of the many reasons I want to marry him. He's a great dad. You could immediately tell that he and Lana have a great relationship and that she is at the forefront of his decisions, which is exactly what anyone would want in a partner. Owen would do anything for Lana, and I can't help but admire him as a father. 3, we share so many common interests and have developed a great friendship through these. We mentioned to you on our first call, we had Zoom calls to get to know one another, that we met via the garden club. At the time, we didn't know each other well at all. Owen was a friendly garden neighbor that I would wave at if I saw him over the fence. And he came over to my plot occasionally to say hi, and I would do the same. Well done, Owen. After I asked Owen for some advice on building a trellis in my plot, he asked me to go out on a date, frozen yogurt at a place in the middle of Prudential Mall. And we intended to have frozen yogurt after work, but end up talking for hours, 5 or 6 hours in a row that we had to eat together. 4, even though we've been together for a while, we keep discovering new things about each other that keep the relationship fresh and fun and growing more deeply. In addition to discovering things about each other, we have a lot of fun discovering new places and interests and hobbies and share them together. Owen makes me a better person. Through his actions and communication, he challenges me, probably without realizing it, and brings a different perspective to my own. I've become more open-minded and very much believe that is to Owen's influence. We communicate well. Communication in a relationship with someone is something I always think is evolving, developing, and we're honest even when we have misunderstandings and disagreements. We try to see one another's point of view, and I've become better and we've become a stronger couple because of that. He has a great sense of humor and can make me belly laugh for hours. We balance each other. He makes me think more about the big picture, and I'm better at keeping track of all the details. Finally, we have a lot of fun together, and there is no one else I would want to experience life with as my partner through the good and bad. Through it all, I realize that I want Owen to be the person by my side. A for effort, would you all agree? Why I want to marry Sarah by Owen. My first impression of Sarah was the sound of her shovel as she dug stumps out of her new victory garden a row over from mine. You know the sound of a shovel striking the earth when the user really means it. I knew from the start she was a hard worker, and that was the first of her qualities to catch my attention. When she mentioned being an engineer, my curiosity turned into a serious crush. When we walked around the garden looking at trellises, the conversation came naturally. She was down to earth and she had a great sense of humor. I could hardly believe my luck when she agreed to a date. It took us a couple weeks to find a chance to meet, and I almost talked myself down. I'm too rough around the edges. She's not going to like me, and so on and so forth, the normal doubts that we all have. But we picked up a weeknight in the mall for frozen yogurt, and we spent hours talking while eating frozen yogurt together. Here's the fascinating point, the guy's point of view. I realized it at the time, but Sarah ran down a checklist of questions, and the wrong answer would have meant this was the last date. And on his side, he felt just lucky to be there. Over the course of talking, I got a sense what is important to her: family and education and career and values. She appreciates me as a dad and I put Lana above everything else. She is a person of character and integrity. I appreciate her hard work. There's a very long, wonderful story about volunteering together and how they have learned through serving other people to take the focus off of themselves and use their gifts to God. Finally, this fall, we decided to go for a hike in the White Mountains. Sarah loves the outdoors, and so do I, but no one pushed me to do a serious hike in just a while. It'd be hard, but not too hard, and we set off, and she set an aggressive pace. About a half hour up the trail, we realized that neither one of us was struggling to keep up with the other. or slowing down to wait for the other. We somehow matched each other perfectly. The endorphins kicked in and we turned to each other and embraced. There were no words, but I tell you, there was fire in that moment. In addition to the love of our service and love of outdoors and gardening, we have lots of hobbies we've grown together, cooking and eating and sharing in lots of small things. And I should mention she has a God-in-charge magnet on her fridge, a scientist with a God magnet. I couldn't be luckier. How about Owen? How did he do? Thumbs up there for you. God bless you in the relationship, the marriage you make together. May it ever grow more deeply.